Danger Dolan. From giant armored animals to human beings packaged, stamped and shipped off across the world, we count 15 of the most bizarre things that have ever turned up in regular postage.
Number 15.
Jared Leto, the famous actor, once had a fan send him their severed ear for what is believed to be absolutely no reason. The ear was sent anonymously with only a small note that read, "Are you listening?" which he proved by posting a photo of the ear in his Instagram account. Jared then strung up the ear and now wears it as a necklace, because if someone goes to the effort of carving off their own ear Van Gogh style, this is merely the polite thing to do. Although some believe it to be a fake ear sent as a prank.
Number 14.
A piece of the Titanic, over 90 tons of the famed unsinkable ship, was sent via FedEx from Milan, Italy, all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. They did it for the Titanic the Artifact exhibition, showcasing bits and pieces of the Titanic wreckage in a public museum, often traveling all over the world to do so. Included in this giant FedEx delivery was a 3,000-pound piece of the ship's hull, along with Leonardo DiCaprio's resume found washed ashore.
Number 13.
A single brick. This is something you can send to anyone right now, and it's perfectly legal. If you ask the post office to send it, they are legally obliged to do so. In some parts, you don't even need to package it. You just slap on a label, a stamp, and hand it to your local post office. They might look at you funny, but just tell them you're building a house. Very, very slowly.
Number 12.
It was December 1954 when a man named David from Ohio decided to mail his pet chameleon through to Orlando, Florida. Despite his hopes, the post office has a strict policy on live reptiles, and this particular chameleon bore no exception. David received a note from the postmaster, which read simply, "Dear David, I received your chameleon yesterday and he was immediately released on the post office grounds. Best wishes for a Merry Christmas."
Number 11.
An unmanned aircraft drone. By itself, it's not too strange, but when you consider the drone was worth $350,000 and it was sent to the wrong person alongside a weightlifting bench, it gets a bit crazy. The man received the drone, took photos and posted them to Reddit, where they went viral until the mystery of this misdelivered drone became a bit clearer. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration left a note informing him it was federal property and the return address.
Number 10.
A rhino, another FedEx parcel carried from Switzerland to Ireland as a transfer from Basel Zoo, but for a very particular reason. One of the infant rhinos in Ireland had only just lost its mother, and without a parent supporting it, this rhino Hoovie wouldn't make it for very long. They shipped the Swiss rhino Heidi to act as a surrogate mum for Hoovie, and so they shipped her off with a considerable postage fee.
Number 9.
A dead cat. This was sent by a couple in Yorkshire who loved their cat dearly, but when it died on them while travelling abroad, they felt so bad that they decided to give it a proper burial at home. Since they couldn't afford to wait until they came back home since the cat would decompose, they chose the next logical step by sending it via mail. When one delivery website asked them to explain, they gave a long, overly lengthy explanation as to why they felt the need to seal up their deceased animal in an envelope and send it to themselves.
Number 8.
A live cat. And now to mirror the previous story, let's talk about the old system of sending mail, such as with pneumatic tubes during the early 1900s that sent mail whizzing through the air direct to your home address or business. In 1931, some guy thought it'd be a great idea to send an entire cat through this tube, which he did to great success, and one attendee who witnessed the event claimed the cat seemed dazed but unharmed. As unharmed as you can be after being sent hurtling through a pressure tube at 35 miles per hour, like you're the feline equivalent of Augustus Gloop.
Number 7.
Children. In 1913, the parcel postage system officially begun in the US, and so people immediately began to test the limits of what types of packages could be sent. A couple from Ohio realized they could send their son via parcel instead of by a train in order to save money, so they paid for stampage and insured the kid for $50, because apparently that's what a human life is worth. Another sent a small baby to his grandma by post, and at that point the postmaster finally stepped in to say, well, Infants aren't exactly immune to the general wear and tear from standard postage, so let's just abolish live human mailing, shall we?
Number 6.
25,000 sea turtle eggs. They were only delivered about 4 years ago after a great tragedy would have seen their population obliterated if it weren't for postage. A massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico polluted the water these turtles called home, so their eggs found all over the place were scooped up and shipped off to the Atlantic coast in Florida. Luckily, the plan was successful and over 14,000 hatchlings were safely released into the Atlantic Ocean.
Number 5.
A live hamster. This one comes in from a father who tried to have his daughter's hamster delivered from their home in Essex all the way to Devon, their holiday locale. According to an official description, this hamster appeared to be under great stress while left at home, and to ensure the rodent wouldn't develop emotional trauma, they arranged its delivery. The father hired a delivery service instead of relying on traditional postage to make sure the hamster was comfortable and in good health.
Number 4.
A pillow. Just like the brick, you can mail yourself an entire pillow by writing your details on the front in permanent marker. This is great if your friend has insomnia and you want to send him or her a giant piece of irony in the mail because you're a jerk.
Number 3.
Diseases. The late 1800s in New York City, Daisy James from the New York Post Office noted that physicians delivered various strains of disease to the National Health Board, including smallpox, scarlet fever, and diphtheria, frequently all over the country. Of course, back then you didn't have the luxury of different types of postage. If you wanted your disease, you had to find the schmo willing to carry it next to their milk bottles.
Number 2.
Slave in a box. Henry Brown was a slave that came up with the ingenious plan to mail himself to freedom by shoving himself in a wooden crate and getting shipped to Philadelphia. He touted his escape, which in turn caused slave owners to get riled up and pass what would be known as the Fugitive Slave Act, forcing all escaped slaves to be returned to their owner under penalty of law. Slaves that escaped through this method really wish they'd kept their mouth shut after that.
Number 1.
This one goes hand in hand with bricks, since in 1916 the young businessman William H. Coltharp mailed an entire building through standard post. He did this by packing all 80,000 bricks used for construction and placed them in crates. 40 crates shipped each time, weighing over a ton collectively. The US Postal Service got pissed and decided to create a rule preventing this, a maximum of 200 pounds of goods per day. They went on to further inform, it is not the intent of the US Postal Service that buildings be shipped through the mail. That's it for this countdown. And have a good one! Very,
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 very, very,
very,
very, very slowly.